Hello Scorpio, and welcome to your in-depth monthly horoscope for July 2023 for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you the standout details to look out for, but please stay with me. I will explore in much greater detail all the ins and outs, particularly relevant to your sign. I feel this month begins in a way which is very much to do with expanding your horizons. But as the month develops, I think it's going to be your goals and ambitions that come very sharply into focus, particularly once the Sun moves into its home zone of Leo on the 23rd. But Venus goes into a retrograde on the same day. What's the implications of that? If you're a returning visitor, thank you so much for joining me once more. If you're new here, it's great to have you with us, and I'd be honoured if you would subscribe. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol, and also share any thoughts you have. I try to interact with all comments. If you would like to ascend above this zodiac broadcast, what you can do by grappling with more serious astrology is provide so much knowledge and understanding of life's patterns that can guide you in your future moves. If you give me 3 pieces of your personal birth data of time, date and place of birth, I can produce for you your life roadmap report. This will give you intimate understandings of the opportunities you have, but also some of the more challenging patterns that may have repeated themselves. And so a better knowledge of these can help to guide you forwards more successfully. And in my 30% off package, you can also get your 12-month personal forecast, totally unique to you, both these charts, and will give you searing insights. Please see the link below for more. However, if you don't know your time of birth, my solar package based on the Sun can still give you a considerable extra understanding that goes beyond this zodiac broadcast. So Scorpio, as you make your way into July, the Sun's alliance with Mercury on the first day is so exact. In traditional astrology, they're known as being in cazimi. If you do need to convey an important message, say for example a presentation, apply for a job, set up some travel arrangements, you can do so in a very crisp and effective way. But you could also find yourself connecting with someone that you're really drawn to, perhaps through some shared interest or philosophy, or even romantically. And part of the reason for this is that the Sun and Mercury are in an alliance with Jupiter, the planet of growth, in your sector of relating as they forge their clinch. So that's really, really exciting. But also, your traditional ruler Mars is still pretty close to Venus at the start of this month. So if you're applying for jobs, or you need to travel for an interview, or the job itself has some kind of movement in it, I think your prospects are really bright, because Venus and Mars together is a nice balance between the diplomacy and charm and coquettishness of Venus and the drive and passion of Mars in the 10th house can give you more assertiveness. But the third sees the full moon, and this is in the sign of Capricorn, where your modern ruler is once more residing, Pluto. And this is interesting because this particular alliance does actually see Saturn, the planet of restraint, actually very supportive. But essentially for you, there can be a conversation, and this conversation could be about something you feel very strongly about, or someone else does, but it could happen over the following 2 weeks. And what Mercury, because that's in the mix as well, is asking you to do is to try to be as dispassionate as possible and just be a little bit more detached. So even if something does trigger you in some way, take a breath and just try to think it through from that more logical viewpoint. I feel that will be very helpful to you. But on the 10th, Mars, your traditional ruler, bursts into your sector of friendship, but also future plans. So for the next 6 weeks, What I like about Mars in this location, not just in Virgo, where it can be more ego denying, but the 11th house is very Aquarian. So if you've got any desire to work or support around a group situation, the chances are you can do it to help others with this very lovely vibe. And also on the 11th, Mercury is going to be moving right to the top of your situation, away from that 9th house, which has seen you really gripped by the idea of changing your life up in some way, making it more varied, creating more space, or actually heading off somewhere exciting. But Mercury moving into Leo could trigger a desire to learn new skills around your professional situation, or you may enroll for a course, or there may be a job that does require some kind of reskilling in some kind of way. But if that's the case, the chances are you can use existing skills and experiences, but just in a new, fresh way. Now, from the 12th to the 20th, the Sun's aligning with Uranus, still in your sector of relating, just like Jupiter, and at this stage of the month, the North Node. So still a lot of energy going on in your relationship sector. But on the 14th, this sextile, which is very enabling, becomes exact. Essentially, Uranus has been pushing you over the last few years to really get to the truth of what your closest ties are about. It is about understanding our higher purpose. But also, of course, Uranus can see us wanting to have space at one minute, and the next minute perhaps be up close and personal. It's quite an erratic influence. But I think this particular energy could see an opportunity to get away, perhaps with a friend, a colleague, or a partner, but it may develop very quickly and you could have a snap decision to make. But week 3 of this month, to be honest, Scorpio, is probably one of the most intense weeks of the whole year. And the reason for this is that your ruler Mars, traditional ruler Mars, goes into an opposition with Saturn in the sign of Pisces, which for you is house 5, very much to do with playfulness, romance, and expressing affection. But you'll be thinking, but isn't Saturn rather counter to all those things? And of course you'd be right, you have to work at those things. But Mars being in opposition can create frustration if your direction of travel in life, or if you're trying to be more noble about something and you encounter people who tend to be cold, detached and resistant to whatever you're trying to do, that can create a lot of frustration. And also with the Sun in an opposition with Pluto, this is a very important strategic aspect. It becomes exact on the 22nd. So on the 14th, we have that great link between the Sun and Uranus. But by the 22nd, a very difficult opposition between the Sun and Pluto. And perhaps the conversation that went on the back of that full moon, which occurred on the 3rd, still needs to come out into the open, and there could be some very deep truths that do need to get shared. And also on the 17th, as the true North Node inverses back into the sign of Aries for the first time in 17 years. And this gives you an opportunity to think about the parts of your life that you could reform, make more simple, more workable. But just at this point, the Sun's still in an opposition with Pluto, but actually also forges a really positive link with Neptune in that same location as Saturn. So there can be some developments around your love life that are very promising this month. But I feel that if you're in any kind of situation where your view is starkly different to anyone you encounter, it almost straight away can set up some kind of standoff. However, on the 23rd, as the Sun reaches the peak of its journey in terms of your desire for success and returns to its home zone of Leo, the next 4 weeks can be a time when you can showcase your talents. But you can't take your professional relationships for granted because of Venus going into retrograde on the same day. And it will be through to the 4th of September. That's 44 days. So despite the fact that there is the enchanting angle between the Sun and Neptune in week 3, I feel the slowing down of Venus, the clash of the Sun and Pluto, and Mars and also Saturn. So by the 28th, you could really appreciate Mercury moving into the sign of Virgo, which it governs, and providing a little bit of detachment and coolness, so you can just try to work out some of the intensity which just really has come alive at the heart of this month. Sometimes in life we have to decide what we stand for, and there could be situations this month where you have to push back on someone who's being very forceful about what they want from a situation. And even if you're someone who naturally avoids confrontation, it may be one of those situations where you can't sit on the fence. You have to be very clear about what it is you're really standing for. And I think that could be what you encounter right at the heart of this month.